how to educate your leadership on the importance of DevSecOps and build the right momentum. Let's get started. To succeed at scaling and implementing a digital transformation strategy and building a strong, agile DevSecOps culture and team, it is foundational to get proper support from your leadership. The bottom-up approach alone will be very painful. The issue, of course, is that most leaders are not technical enough to understand why any of this matters. Worse, many have yet to get proper training on basic agile principles. And if they do, they're often taught bloated anti-agile or wannabe agile concepts like SAFe. Please don't use SAFe. It's not agile. I certainly remember pushing some of the key technologies that enabled our digital transformation and DevSecOps adoption in DoD, such as containers, to senior leaders at the Pentagon. After 6 months or so, I think they finally understood that I was not trying to ship containers to Afghanistan. Alright, so here are the 11 tips that I have personally leveraged to ensure we get significant top coverage and support from our top Pentagon leaders. So first, spend time educating teams and leaders. I started by briefing countless leaders across the DoD to ensure that proper understanding of those very used buzzwords were finally well understood. Make it simple. Adjust to your audience. Find a way to make it relatable and precise enough so it's not too vague. More importantly, you need to use proper example. For example, people using Netflix in the DoD was not a good example. Leaders will say that we're not building some video app. So SpaceX and Tesla were a better example that leaders will relate to and would not have objections to. Slide can be good for many leaders to better follow your pitch, but don't have too many. One leader mentioned the number of crashes of SpaceX. That's where you must know your example deeply. I pointed out that none of the crashes were due to software updates, but instead hardware issues, which is true. Don't lie, of course. So know your examples. Once you got a good hook, milk it as much as possible. Ask them to speak, ask them to provide a good quote, whatever to help you get more apples. Don't waste time with the bad ones. Move on to the next one if you don't get traction after 1 or 2 meetings. Value your time. Some people are toxic, or their ego get in the way, or they're just incompetent or clueless, whatever else. Just move on. You can't get to everyone. 80% is a miracle already. You got 50%? Be happy. That process actually took me more time than actually building our team and minimal viable product capability for DevSecOps in DoD. Tips number 2. Start with a meaningful proof of concept. Show that it's doable with a hard first use case that brings mission value. Don't go the easy route. Too many people told me they would go and start with maybe some business example. That makes no sense. We're a military organization, right? Use a real example that is mission focused. For me, we started with the F-16 jet and took a legacy hardware, one of the hardest problems in DoD, and demonstrated we could do DevSecOps in 45 days. It was hard, but meaningful to the mission. It wasn't just some side project or some business concept of bringing some mobile app or website to DoD. That relates to the warfighter. The third tip is to demonstrate your return on investment with metrics. Define clear objectives, and they must tie to the organization's mission with medium-term plans. Track the right metrics using the DORA metrics, but also key organizational metrics. In DoD, for example, we demonstrated that time saved on continuous ATO and DevSecOps with a feedback loop saved us 12 to 18 months per program per 5-year cycle. That was 100 years of time saved. You demonstrate the feasibility so that the return on investment can bring broader scale and massive returns. Fourth tip, demonstrate savings at scale by enabling the reuse of work. Reuse is key. You want to think about containers, Lego blocks. Good example is SpaceX. Think of SpaceX, 80% of their code is reused across platforms. It's very modular and flexible. F-35 only used 4% with F-22. That's despicable. There's no reuse. With SpaceX, they're able to create a new platform by just swapping a few containers and Lego blocks and making a new concept. That's where you want to be. You want to be able to enable that reuse throughout the enterprise and have a platform to store these Lego blocks so they can be discovered and consumed. Tip number 5, build a coalition. We built the largest DoD community of practice by reaching out to teams across the department, from the Navy to the Army to the Air Force and Space Force and the Fourth Estate. We even reached out to other agencies, including OMB, NIST, and many more. Even nations with NATO. We published architecture designs, reference design, guidance, creative training. We got people excited and open sourced the largest contributions from a government to the open source community. Tip number 6, learning is key. The IT pace is insane. Make it clear that everyone must learn or get behind and irrelevant. We gave an hour a day for people to learn, but also I insisted that our leader will also take some time, much smaller for sure, to learn as well. So we created training for every layer of the DoD. Tip number 7, make it clear that there is no path for success without these principles. Explain that we are in a software-defined world. Use the Tesla example of a stack-in-time hardware, but software yet is able to continuously evolve. That resonated very well with my audience, for example. Tip number 8, don't always wait for approval. Ask for forgiveness. I found out that most people don't get in the way of momentum. So go full speed. If you make some noise, that's fine too. If you end up fired, that's more time saved for you to find a better fit for your future. Now that you have these tremendous skills, it won't be hard for you to find a new job. Of course, never break compliance or laws, but you can push the envelope a little bit, right? Tip number 9, ask for well-defined requests. Your leadership can help. Whether it's financial, human resources, or other things, you need to go to meetings with your leadership, showing results, return on investment, and then of course, you need to demand for more things. Maybe attending KubeCon, for example, is something we did in DoD. Ask for the funding to do that. Always give and receive back. You must show to these meetings with tangible, precise asks. Don't leave things for interpretation or vagueness. Ask for something precise with a very clear timeline to get it. Tip number 10. Once it's working, ask for support to push it across the organization. DevSecOps only work if the entire organization moves to it. If you have bottlenecks across teams or silos, you won't be able to succeed. So at some point, once results speak for themselves, it's time to ask for your DevSecOps culture to be pushed across all teams. Ideally, it will have to be mandated, but sometimes you will find egos with bad behavior and wrong reasons, and you will need a stick. I didn't get the ability to mandate in DoD, and that's why I had to leave to raise awareness and wake people up. We needed the mandate. Too many people were biased or had conflict of interest or egos. Now, of course, people are embracing it thanks to the noise we made, but sometimes you got to take the hard route too, even if that means leaving and moving on. Tip number 11, make stick and carrot. Show them how competitors are already using it and maybe even kicking your butt. Fire definitely helps. I certainly think that we need to make it a no-brainer, and fear can definitely be part of that. Do I want to lead with carrots? Yes. But stick doesn't always hurt. The right balance is key. There you have it. 11 tips to help you convince your teams and leadership to embrace DevSecOps and digital transformation and to empower you to succeed. You can succeed long-term with a bottom-up approach. Leverage these tips to get the backing from the top that you need to get to the scale that is needed to truly deliver return on investments for your team and organization. Of course, I would certainly recommend that you invite them to join this course. We certainly designed this to ensure that anyone can understand these key principles, and it's impossible for me to summarize hours of content in minutes. So by watching this, anyone can truly understand why all this matters and all this is critical.